Daniel stopped breathing at 7:43 p.m. His father didn't notice for 4 seconds. For seconds of chewing his steak while his son was dying across the table. Then the boy dropped like someone cut his strings. 1 second, he was talking. The next, his eyes rolled back and his body went completely slack in his father's arms. Dmitry Volkov, Russian billionaire worth $3 billion, couldn't buy his son another breath. He screamed. His hands shook. His security team froze. Every person in that restaurant watched a father's worst nightmare unfold in real time. The boy's lips were turning blue. Paramedics? Still 3 minutes out. 3 minutes this child didn't have. But across the restaurant, a waitress named Diana saw something. A tiny detail everyone else missed. The way the boy's hand pressed against his left side before he fell. The color under his fingernails. The specific pattern of his breathing. She knew exactly what was killing him, and she knew everyone was about to save the wrong organ. Here's the problem. Diana's not supposed to know this, because 3 years ago, she was Dr. Diana Morgan, the best pediatric ER doctor in Charleston, until the night she reported a powerful man for corruption and lost everything. Her career, her reputation, her entire life. Now she's invisible. Nobody, just the waitress who refills water. If she stays quiet, this boy dies in 90 minutes from internal bleeding no one will catch in time. If she speaks up, everyone will ask how a waitress knows what trained paramedics don't. Her secret gets exposed. The fragile life she's built shatters. Again, 60 seconds to choose. Silence or truth. Before I tell you what she did, answer this. What would you risk to save a stranger's child? Your job? Your safety? Everything? Drop your honest answer below. Because what Diana does next will either make you a hero or destroy you. Hit subscribe. What happens in the next 2 minutes will break your heart and put it back together. 6 hours before Daniel stopped breathing, Diana Morgan was pouring coffee and pretending her life was normal. Table 4 wanted their steaks medium rare. Table 7, allergic to shellfish. Table 9, celebrating an anniversary. Hold the candles. The wife hates attention. Diana memorized it all without writing a single word down. 12 tables, 43 orders. She never mixed them up, never forgot a modification, never needed to ask twice. The other servers thought she was just good at her job. They had no idea her brain was trained to memorize patient charts in under 30 seconds, to spot patterns and vital signs while running between trauma bays, to never, ever forget a detail that could save a life. But that was 3 years ago, before everything fell apart. Now, she was just the waitress with tired eyes and steady hands. The sapphire room smelled like money, seared butter on filet mignon, aged wine breathing in crystal decanters, expensive cologne that cost more than her weekly paycheck, the kind of restaurant where silverware clinked like wind chimes and conversations were always kept low, because people with real power never needed to raise their voices. Diana moved through it all like a ghost, invisible, exactly how she needed to be. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She ignored it. She already knew what it said. Rent notice. 5 days overdue. Another late fee she couldn't afford. She'd checked her bank account that morning. $287.43. Rent was $950. Electric bill, $73. Groceries, if she was lucky, maybe $40 for the week. The math didn't work. It never worked. But she'd figured out. She always did. Diana? Marcus, the busboy, yelped from the kitchen doorway. Blood dripped from his hand onto the white tile floor. She was moving before anyone else reacted. Let me see. Her voice was calm, automatic. She took his hand, turned it over, assessed the damage in 2 seconds flat. Deep cut across the palm from a broken wine glass. Clean edges. No tendon damage. Needed pressure and butterfly closures, not stitches. She grabbed the first aid kit from under the hose stand, pulled Marcus to the prep sink, cleaned the wound with surgical precision, applied pressure with gauze. Her hands moved like they'd done this 10,000 times. Because they had. "How'd you learn to do that?" Marcus asked, watching her apply the butterfly strips with perfect alignment. Diana didn't look up. YouTube. Lie, but a necessary one. She wrapped his hand, checked his pulse, steady, and sent him home for the night. The whole thing took 4 minutes. No panic, no hesitation, just muscle memory from a life she wasn't supposed to remember. When her shift ended that night, Diana would go to her locker. She'd pull out her jacket, her keys, her dying phone charger, and buried at the bottom, underneath a folded sweater, there was a laminated ID badge she should have thrown away years ago. Charleston Memorial Hospital. Dr. Diana Morgan, MD, Pediatric Emergency Medicine. She never looked at it, but she couldn't throw it away either. Some nights, she'd hold it in her hands and remember who she used to be. A doctor who saved kids. A woman who stood up for what was right. Someone who mattered. Then she'd lock the locker, clock out, and go home to her studio apartment where the AC barely worked and the neighbors fought through the walls. This was her life now. Small, quiet, safe. She'd convinced herself she was okay with it. She was wrong, because in exactly 2 hours and 17 minutes, a Russian billionaire son would collapse at table 12, and Diana would have to choose between staying invisible and staying silent. One of those things was about to become impossible. Dmitry Volkov didn't walk into the Sapphire Room. He arrived. 2 security guards entered first. Black suits, earpieces, eyes scanning every corner like threats lived in the wallpaper. Then came Dmitry, 6'2", gray suit that cost more than Diana's car, silver watch catching the chandelier light like a warning, and holding his hand, an 8-year-old boy with dark curls and his father's sharp cheekbones. The entire restaurant felt it, that shift in air pressure when someone with real power enters a room. Mr. Volkov, the manager, Gerald, who'd barely said 2 words to Diana in 6 months, practically jogged across the dining room. "Your table is ready, sir. The VIP section, just as you requested." Dmitry didn't smile, didn't acknowledge him, just nodded once and moved toward the frosted glass partition that separated the elite from everyone else. Diana watched from the service station, balancing a tray of dirty plates. She'd seen men like him before, the type who believed money bought them immunity from basic human decency, the type who snapped fingers at waitstaff and never learned their names, the type who thought please and thank you were for people beneath them. Diana. Gerald's voice was tight. "You're covering VIP tonight. Don't screw this up." Mr. Volkov tips, "Well, if you stay invisible." Stay invisible. She was excellent at that. She approached their table with water glasses and menus. Dmitry was speaking rapid Russian into his phone, one hand gesturing sharply. The boy Daniel, she'd heard him called, sat quietly, coloring on the kids' menu with crayons the host had provided. Prekrati. Dmitry barked into the phone. "Stop," then switched to English, his accent thick and hard. "I don't care what the board thinks. Tell them I decide, not them. Me." He hung up, looked at Diana like she was furniture. "Bring me the ribeye, rare, and vodka. The good bottle, not the cheap American garbage you serve tourists. Not please. Not when you have a moment. Just commands." Diana wrote it down. "And for your son?" Daniel looked up, eyes bright. "Can I have the chicken fingers? And fries? Dad, I'm really hungry. Basketball practice was so long today, and coach made us run like a million sprints and—" "Daniel." Dmitry's voice cut through the boy's excitement like a blade. "Sit still. Stop talking." The boy's face fell. He went quiet immediately. But Diana noticed something. The way Daniel shifted in his seat. The way his hand pressed briefly against his left side before he picked up his crayon again. Just for a second. Then it was gone. Dimitri softened, barely. He reached over and straightened Daniel's collar with surprising gentleness. Fixed a curl that had fallen across his forehead. "You did good today at practice," he said quietly in English, meant just for his son. "I am proud." Daniel's whole face lit up, and Diana saw it. The contradiction. The father who barked orders at strangers but spoke softly to his child. The man who commanded rooms, but whose entire world was the 8-year-old boy sitting across from him. She took their order and walked away. Men like Dmitri Volkov were easy to read. All power, no empathy. All money, no manners. What Diana didn't know yet, in less than an hour, she'd watch all that power become completely useless. And the only thing that would matter was whether she'd choose to save him from his own blindness. It happened between the second course and dessert. Daniel was telling his father a story, something about a kid at school who'd brought a snake for show and tell. When his words just stopped, his face went pale, gray pale, wrong pale. Then his eyes rolled back and he collapsed forward, face hitting the table with a sound that made everyone in the VIP section turn. "Daniel?" Dimitri's voice cracked with terror. He caught his son before he slid off the chair, pulling him into his arms. "Daniel, wake up. Wake up." The boy didn't respond. His head lolled back. His lips were already losing color. Dimitri screamed something in Russian. His security team rushed over, hands hovering uselessly. One guard grabbed his phone, yelling for an ambulance. Gerald ran over, face white, stammering apologies like they could fix this. "Someone help him." Dimitri's voice shattered. "Someone help my son." Chaos erupted. Diners stood up. Whispers turned into shouts. Someone said, "Call 911," like it hadn't already been done. Another person suggested CPR. Another said give him space. Everyone had an opinion. No one was helping. Diana stood 15 feet away at the service station, her tray of drinks forgotten, her entire body locked in place. Because she'd seen this before. Her medical training activated like a switch flipping. Her eyes tracked every detail with clinical precision. The boy's breathing, shallow, rapid, labored. Not choking. Not cardiac arrest. His skin tone, pale with a grayish tint. But his extremities weren't mottled. Not septic shock. His fingernails, bluish beds underneath. Hypoxia. Oxygen deprivation. His body position before collapse. Hand pressed to his left side. Guarding. Protecting. The way he'd mentioned basketball practice. Running. Contact. Blunt force trauma. Diana's mind assembled the pieces in under 10 seconds. Ruptured spleen. Grade 3, maybe 4. Internal bleeding into the abdominal cavity. Symptoms mimic cardiac distress. Allergic reaction, even seizures. Easy to misdiagnose. Easy to treat wrong. And if you treat it wrong, the patient dies while you're trying to fix the thing that isn't broken. She knew. She knew exactly what was killing this child. And then the memory hit her. 5 years ago, Charleston Memorial ER, 2:30, 4 a.m. A 7-year-old boy named Marcus Webb arrived with his mother. Difficulty breathing. Pale. Lethargic. The attending physician diagnosed cardiac arrhythmia. Started treatment immediately. But Diana saw the mother's intake form. Fell off trampoline this afternoon. She checked the boy's abdomen. Tender on the left side. Distended. She'd ordered a CT scan over the attending's objections. Ruptured spleen. Massive internal bleeding. The boy was bleeding out while they prepped cardiac meds that would have killed him faster. Emergency surgery. 16 units of blood. He survived because Diana saw what everyone else missed. She'd saved his life by trusting her gut over protocol. The paramedics were still 4 minutes out. Maybe 3 now. But when they arrived, they'd see an unconscious child and jump to the obvious conclusions. Heart. Allergic reaction. Seizure. They'd treat the wrong thing. Waste precious time. By the time someone ordered a CT scan, Daniel would have bled too much. Spleen injuries were sneaky. Patients seemed stable until they weren't, until they crashed hard and fast and died on the table. Diana's hands gripped the edge of a service counter. She could stay here, stay quiet, stay invisible, let the professionals handle it, except she was a professional, or used to be. Diana. Gerald appeared next to her, face panicked. Get back to the kitchen. Now. We can't have staff standing around during an emergency. She didn't move. Her medical license was gone. She had no legal right to practice medicine. If she intervened and was wrong, she could face criminal charges. If she revealed her expertise, questions would follow. Her past would surface. The hospital scandal, the blacklisting, everything she'd buried would explode back into her life. But if she stayed silent, she watched Dimitri clutching his son, watched a father experiencing every parent's worst nightmare, watched security guards shouting into phones and accomplishing nothing. 3 minutes until paramedics arrived. 3 minutes to misdiagnose. Another 10 minutes to transport. Another 5 to triage at the ER. 18 minutes of wrong treatment. Daniel didn't have 18 minutes. Diana's feet were moving before her brain could stop them. Miss, step back. A security guard blocked her path, hand up. Move. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried command. Doctor voice. The one she hadn't used in 3 years. Ma'am, you need to. That child has a ruptured spleen and he's bleeding internally. If you don't let me through right now, he'll be dead in 90 minutes. The guard's face showed confusion. Gerald grabbed her arm. Diana, what the hell are you doing? Get back to. She ripped her arm free and pushed past them both. 60 seconds to choose. She'd already chosen. Diana dropped to her knees next to Dimitri. Sir, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Who are you? Dimitri's eyes were wild, desperate. Get away. You are Waitress. You cannot help. Your son has internal bleeding. It's not his heart. It's not an allergic reaction. He ruptured his spleen during basketball practice today. That's why he was holding his side. The bleeding's been slow, but now, you are crazy. Dimitri clutched Daniel tighter. Security. Remove her. Hands grabbed Diana's shoulders. Gerald was screaming about lawsuits. Another server pulled out her phone, recording. But Diana locked eyes with Dimitri. Her voice went cold. Clinical. The voice that had delivered bad news to 100 terrified parents. His respiratory rate is 32 breaths per minute. Normal for his age is 20. His capillary refill is delayed. Press his fingernail and watch how long it takes to pink up. More than 3 seconds means he's hypoxic. His abdomen will be rigid and distended on the left side. Those are the signs of a splenic rupture with hemorrhagic shock. If the paramedics treat him for cardiac arrest, they'll waste time he doesn't have. Dimitri's face changed. The panic shifted to confusion. How you know this? Sirens wailed outside. The paramedics burst through the entrance, equipment crashing through the dining room. They assessed Daniel in 15 seconds. Possible cardiac event. We're starting. Stop. Diana stood up, put herself between them and the boy. Check his abdomen first. Left upper quadrant. Blunt force trauma from sports today. He's presenting with splenic rupture. The lead paramedic, a woman in her 40s, looked at Diana like she'd grown a second head. Ma'am, step aside. We're trained professionals. So am I. The words came out before Diana could stop them. I'm a doctor. Pediatric emergency medicine. That child needs a trauma CT and surgical consult, not cardiac protocol. The restaurant went silent. Gerald's face turned purple. Diana, you're fired. Security, escort her. Wait. The female paramedic held up a hand. She knelt next to Daniel, palpated his abdomen. Her expression shifted. She looked at her partner. Left upper quadrant is rigid, distended. Call it impossible splenic injury. We need a trauma surgeon on standby. Dimitri stared at Diana. His voice came out broken. Who are you? Diana met his eyes. Right now, I'm the only person who can save your son. Before we continue, I need to know where my viewers are watching from. Kindly drop your location in the comments. Also, do you think Diana was right to speak up, even though it would expose her secret? Drop your answer below, because what happens next will either prove she's a hero or destroy what's left of her life. Diana's hand shook on the steering wheel as she followed the ambulance to Charleston Memorial. She shouldn't be doing this. She had no business being there, no legal right to step foot in that hospital. But her body moved on autopilot, her car trailing the flashing red lights through downtown Charleston like she was still a doctor rushing to save a patient. Because that's what Daniel was now, her patient, even if the world said she had no right to claim him. The ambulance screamed into the ER bay. Diana parked in the visitor lot, watching from a distance as they wheeled Daniel inside. Dimitri ran alongside the gurney, one hand gripping his son's, the other shouting into his phone in Russian. She sat in her car for 20 minutes, then 40, then an hour. She couldn't leave, couldn't walk away without knowing if she'd been right, if her diagnosis, the one she had no legal authority to make, would save Daniel's life, or if she just destroyed what was left of her own for nothing. Inside the ER, she knew what was happening. The receiving physician would have gotten the paramedics' report, possible splenic rupture, based on field assessment and bystander observation. They'd run the trauma protocol. Fast scan first, focused assessment with sonography for trauma. Quick, non-invasive. Checks for internal bleeding. If it showed free fluid in the abdomen, they'd order the CT scan. Contrast imaging to confirm the rupture and grade the severity. If Diana was right, Daniel was in surgery within the hour. If she was wrong, she just humiliated herself in front of 50 witnesses, lost her job, and possibly opened herself up to legal consequences for practicing medicine without a license. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus, the busboy. Everyone's talking about what you did. Gerald fired you. Says you're banned from the property. I'm sorry. Diana stared at the message. Felt nothing. She'd expected it. Another buzz. This time a number she didn't recognize. This is Officer Patricia Mendez, Charleston PD. We need to speak with you regarding an incident at the Sapphire Room tonight. Please call this number. Her stomach dropped. They were investigating her. Of course they were. A waitress claiming to be a doctor, interfering with emergency medical care, causing a scene. Dimitri probably thought she was insane, probably wanted her arrested. Diana closed her eyes, waited for the regret to come. It didn't, because even if she lost everything again, she'd made the right call. She knew she had. 2 hours after the ambulance arrived, the ER doors slid open. Dimitri emerged, flanked by his security team. His face was drawn, exhausted, but not devastated, not grief-stricken. That meant Daniel was alive. Diana's breath released in a shaking exhale. Dimitri paced the ambulance bay, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Russian. Then, English. I don't care what time it is in Moscow. Wake him. I need the best pediatric surgeon in the country on a plane tonight. Yes, I will pay whatever. He stopped. Listen. His shoulders sagged slightly. He is stable? The surgery was success. A pause. Grade 3 splenic rupture. Yes. They tell me if we had waited 10 more minutes, he would have been in hemorrhagic shock. They say someone at the restaurant knew what to look for. Another pause. Dimitri's hand went to his face, covering his eyes. The waitress, she told the paramedics. She was right. His voice cracked. She saved my son, and I called her crazy. Diana's vision blurred. She swiped her eyes angrily. She wasn't going to cry. Not here. Not where anyone could see. Dimitri ended his call, stood there in the ambulance bay lights, a man worth billions, completely powerless except for the fact that a woman he'd dismissed had seen what he couldn't. Then he turned, looked directly at Diana's car in the parking lot. Their eyes met across 50 feet of asphalt. He knew. Somehow he knew she was there. Dimitri started walking toward her car. Diana's hand went to the ignition. She could leave, drive away, disappear back into her invisible life. But she didn't. She stepped out of the car, stood there in her waitress uniform, black pants, white button-down, name tag that said Diana in cheerful letters. Dimitri stopped 10 feet away, studied her like he was seeing her for the first time. "Who are you?" His accent was thick, exhausted. "Tell me truth. Who are you really?" Diana met his gaze. "Someone who used to save kids like your son. Before I lost everything trying to do the right thing. And tonight? Tonight I did it again." Dimitri's jaw worked. "The hospital. They tell me you have no license. No legal right to diagnose my Daniel." "That's correct. They tell me you risk yourself, your job, maybe criminal charges, to help boy you do not know." Diana said nothing. "Why?" Dimitri's voice broke on the word. "Why you do this?" "Because I took an oath once, and I don't know how to break it, even when it breaks me." The next morning, Diana sat in her studio apartment with her laptop open and searched Dmitri Volkov. The results flooded her screen. Tech billionaire. Net worth $3.2 billion. CEO of Volkov Tech Industries, specializing in cybersecurity and AI defense systems. Offices in 6 countries. Homes in Moscow, London, Miami, and Charleston. And then she found it. Page 3 of search results. An article from 3 years ago. Russian billionaire Dmitri Volkov donates $50 million to Charleston Memorial Hospital. Diana's blood went cold. She clicked the link. There was Dmitri Younger smiling at a ribbon-cutting ceremony, shaking hands with hospital administrators, and standing right beside him, grinning like he'd won the lottery, Dr. Harrison Blackwell, head of pediatric services. The man Diana had reported for insurance fraud. The man who destroyed her career in retaliation. Her hands trembled on the keyboard. She read the article 3 times, piecing it together. Dimitri's donation was meant to build a new pediatric wing. State-of-the-art equipment, expanded ER facilities, scholarships for low-income families who couldn't afford pediatric care. Noble, generous, exactly the kind of publicity a Russian billionaire needed to improve his reputation in the American South. But Diana knew the truth. 3 years ago, Diana had been reviewing patient billing records, something she did obsessively because medical errors often started in paperwork, not procedures. That's when she noticed it. Families who qualified for the Volkov Scholarship Fund, the program funded by Dimitri's donation, were still being billed full price. The scholarship money was being processed through Dr. Blackwell's department, but it never reached the families. $50 million, supposed to help hundreds of sick kids. Diana pulled the financial records, traced the payments, and discovered that over $12 million had been diverted into shell accounts, fake vendors, inflated equipment costs, ghost employees. Dr. Blackwell was embezzling Dmitri Volkov's donation money, and the hospital administration was looking the other way because Blackwell brought in massive research grants and prestige. Diana reported it, went to the medical board, filed formal complaints, gave them everything. 2 weeks later, she was the one under investigation, accused of falsifying records, creating a hostile work environment, spreading malicious lies about a respected physician. Dr. Blackwell had powerful friends. Diana had evidence. Evidence didn't matter. They stripped her license, blacklisted her from every hospital in South Carolina, destroyed her reputation so thoroughly that no one would hire her for anything medical. And Dmitri Volkov? He never knew, never questioned where his $50 million went. Never followed up. Just collected his good PR and moved on. Back to present. Diana closed her laptop, pressed her palms against her eyes. The Russian billionaire whose son she saved had unknowingly funded the corruption that destroyed her life. The universe had a sick sense of humor. Across town, Dmitri sat in his home office. The leather chair turned toward the window overlooking Charleston Harbor. His lawyer, Robertson, stood nearby with a tablet in hand. Her name is Dr. Diana Morgan, Robert said carefully. Age 34. Medical degree from Johns Hopkins. Pediatric Emergency Medicine Fellowship at Boston Children's. Hired by Charleston Memorial 6 years ago. Top performer. Saved countless lives. And then? Dmitri didn't turn from the window. 3 years ago, she filed formal complaints against Dr. Harrison Blackwell, head of pediatric services, for insurance fraud and embezzlement. Claimed he was diverting scholarship funds meant for low-income families. Dmitri's jaw tightened. The Volkov Scholarship Fund? Yes, sir. Your donation. Silence. The medical board investigated. Dr. Blackwell had powerful allies. The board concluded Dr. Morgan's claims were unsubstantiated and motivated by professional jealousy. They stripped her license, blacklisted her. She couldn't practice medicine anywhere. What happened to Blackwell? Nothing. He retired 2 years ago with full honors. Lives in Hilton Head now. Dmitri's hand curled into a fist against the armrest. Why are you investigating her, Dmitri? Robert's voice was quiet. She saved Daniel's life. She's not a threat to you. Because I need to understand. Dmitri turned finally, his face hard. She risks everything, her job, possible arrest, to save boys she does not know, from father who treated her like garbage. Why? What kind of person does this? A good one, Robert said simply. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Dmitri stood, walked to his desk, pulled out a photograph from a top drawer. A woman with dark hair and Daniel's smile. Daniel's mother, Irina. She died 8 years ago. Complications during childbirth. The doctors said they'd done everything possible. But Dmitri always wondered, always carried the guilt that his money, his power, his demands for the best care had somehow blinded him to what she really needed. Daniel was all he had left of her. The only thing in his life that mattered more than money. And a simple waitress had seen what he'd missed, had saved his son when his billions couldn't. Find out everything, Dmitri said. About Dr. Morgan, about Blackwell, about where my $50 million really went. Everything. And then I fixed what I should have seen 3 years ago. 3 days after Daniel's surgery, Dmitri walked into the Sapphire Room at 2 p.m., between lunch and dinner service, when the restaurant was nearly empty. Diana was clearing table 7 when she saw him enter. Her hands froze on the water pitcher. Gerald, the manager, materialized instantly. Mr. Volkov, we weren't expecting you, sir. Your usual table. I am here to see Diana Morgan. Gerald's face went pale. Sir, Diana is no longer employed here. As I explained to your assistant, we terminated her for... I do not care what you explained. Dmitri's voice was ice. Where is she? Gerald's eyes darted to Diana, who stood 15 feet away, still in her uniform, because she'd come to pick up her final paycheck. Dmitri's gaze followed, locked onto her. You. Come. It wasn't a request. Diana set down the pitcher, walked toward him with her chin up, refusing to show fear. Dmitri gestured to an empty table in the corner, private, away from the few remaining lunch customers and hovering staff. They sat. Gerald hovered nearby until Dmitri dismissed him with a single look. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Dmitri leaned forward. How is my son, you ask? He is recovering. Surgery was success. He will have small scar, but otherwise perfect health. Thanks to you. Diana nodded. I'm glad. You're glad. Dmitri's laugh was bitter. You save his life, and you are glad. As if this is a small thing. It's what I was trained to do. But you have no license, no legal right, yet you risk yourself anyway. He studied her. Why? I already told you. No. You tell me oath. You tell me you cannot break promise you made. But I want real answer. Dimitri's accent grew thicker, his emotions rising. You lose everything 3 years ago. Career, reputation, everything. And still you help stranger? Still you help man who treated you like nothing? Why? Diana's jaw tightened. Because your son deserved to live. And I was the only person in that room who knew how to make sure he did. That's it. That's the whole reason. Who are you really, Diana Morgan? So he'd investigated. Of course he had. You already know, Diana said quietly. Your lawyer told you everything, I'm sure. I know facts. I know you're a doctor. I know you lost license. I know hospital says you lied, spread false accusations, tried to destroy good man's reputation. Dimitri paused. But I also know something else. I know you were right. Diana's breath caught. Dimitri pulled out a tablet, slid it across the table. My people, they are very good at finding hidden things. Numbers that do not add up. Money that disappears. And they found this. Diana looked at the screen. Bank statements, wire transfers, shell company registrations, offshore accounts, all traced back to Dr. Harrison Blackwell. You were whistleblower, Dimitri said. You reported Dr. Blackwell for stealing money from scholarship fund. My scholarship fund. The $50 million I donated to help sick children. Diana's voice came out hollow. You didn't know. No. I signed check. I attended photo ceremony. I collected my good press. And then I forgot. I never asked where money went. Never checked if it helped people I said I wanted to help. Dimitri's face twisted with disgust. I was too busy being important. You couldn't have known. I should have known. His fist hit the table. Several diners turned to look. Dimitri lowered his voice, trembling with anger. It was my money, my name on that fund, and I was too arrogant, too lazy to make sure it went to the right place. He leaned back, scrubbed his hands over his face. You want to know worst part? Dr. Blackwell, he personally oversaw Daniel's care when we moved to Charleston. I insisted on best doctor. Hospital recommended him, said he was top in pediatrics. I paid him extra, gave him bonuses, and all that time, he was stealing money meant for children who could not afford care. The weight of it settled between them. Your money bought my silence, Diana said quietly. The hospital protected Blackwell because of your donation, because men with your money matter more than doctors who tell the truth. And when I tried to expose him, your money, your reputation, was part of the weapon they used to destroy me. Dimitri looked like she'd struck him. I am sorry. His voice broke. I am so sorry. If I had known, if I had checked, if I had cared about anything except tax benefit and good publicity, would it have mattered? Diana asked. Be honest. 3 years ago, if some junior doctor you'd never met told you that the prestigious physician you were donating millions to was corrupt, would you have believed her? Or would you have believed the hospital that made you feel important? Dimitri said nothing, because they both knew the answer. I would make same choice again, he finally said. Same mistake. Because 3 years ago I believed money made me important, made me better than people like you. And now I know that Waitress with no power is worth more than Billionaire with all power in world. Dimitri's eyes were bright, because she saved things money cannot buy, cannot fix, cannot replace. She saved my son, and I called her crazy. Diana's throat tightened. Let me fix this, Dimitri said. Let me make right what I should have done 3 years ago. You can't fix the past. No, but I can change future. 2 weeks later, Dmitri Volkov held a press conference. The Charleston media showed up expecting a typical Billionaire PR event. Maybe an announcement about a new tech facility. Maybe more donations to look good for tax season. What they got instead shocked everyone. Dimitri stood at the podium, no smile, no charm, just raw honesty. 3 years ago, I donated $50 million to Charleston Memorial Hospital. I thought I was helping children. I was wrong. The room went silent. My donation was stolen. Over $12 million was embezzled by Dr. Harrison Blackwell, former head of pediatric services, through fraudulent billing, fake vendors, and offshore accounts. The families my scholarship fund was meant to help never received aid. The equipment that was supposed to save children's lives was never purchased. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Dimitri held up a hand. There was one person who tried to expose this corruption. Dr. Diana Morgan. She reported the fraud 3 years ago. She provided evidence. She did everything right. He paused, his voice hardening. And the hospital destroyed her for it. They stripped her medical license. They blacklisted her. They protected a criminal and punished a hero because men like me, men with money and power, were too important to question. More shouting. Gerald, watching from the back of the room, looked like he might vomit. 2 weeks ago, Dr. Morgan saved my son's life. She is working as waitress because hospital took her career. But she is still a doctor, still a healer. And when my Daniel was dying, she risked everything again to save him. Dimitri's voice broke slightly. The waitress I treated like furniture saved the only thing in the world that matters to me. And she did it knowing I would probably have her arrested for daring to help. He looked directly into the cameras. I am announcing full independent investigation into Charleston Memorial Hospital's handling of the Volkov Scholarship Fund. Every dollar will be accounted for. Every family who should have received aid will be compensated. And Dr. Harrison Blackwell will face criminal fraud charges. I have already given all evidence to federal prosecutors. The room erupted. Furthermore, I am personally funding Dr. Morgan's legal team to appeal her license revocation. The medical board will review her case with all new evidence. And if they do not restore her license, I will take this to every court in country until justice is served. One reporter shouted, "Mr. Volkov, why are you doing this?" Dimitri's answer was simple. Because 3 years ago, I had the power to prevent this. And I did nothing. I cannot change past. But I can make sure Dr. Diana Morgan gets back what was stolen from her. Her career, her reputation, her life. The story went viral within hours. Russian billionaire exposes hospital corruption. Credits waitress who saved his son. Diana's phone exploded with calls. News outlets, lawyers, job offers from hospitals across the country wanting to show they supported whistleblowers. When she walked into the Sapphire Room to pick up her last check, the entire restaurant went silent. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Within seconds, the whole dining room, customers who'd ignored her for months, was applauding. Gerald approached, face pale. "Diana, I think there's been a misunderstanding about your termination. Perhaps we can discuss you returning to—" "No," Diana said simply. She took her final paycheck and walked out. Some bridges deserve to burn. 3 days later, the South Carolina Medical Board announced they were reviewing Dr. Diana Morgan's case in light of new evidence. Dr. Harrison Blackwell was arrested at his Hilton Head home. Federal charges: wire fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. And Diana? She went back to her studio apartment, made cheap ramen for dinner, and for the first time in 3 years, she let herself hope. 6 months later, Diana volunteered at the Harbor Street Free Clinic 3 days a week. She couldn't legally practice medicine yet. Her license restoration was still pending. But she could take vitals, bandage wounds, comfort scared children while the attending physicians handled the actual medical decisions. It wasn't enough, but it was something. She was showing a nervous mother how to properly clean her daughter's scraped knee when the clinic director appeared at the exam room door. "Diana, You have visitors." Dmitri stood in the waiting room, and beside him, holding his hand, was Daniel. The boy looked healthy, color in his cheeks, energy in his movements. The scar from his surgery was hidden under his t-shirt, but Diana knew it was there, a thin line on his left side that would fade with time. "Dr. Morgan." Daniel broke free from his father's grip and ran to her. Diana knelt down. "Hey, buddy, how are you feeling?" "Good. Dad says I can play basketball again next month, and I don't have to do boring physical therapy anymore." He lowered his voice conspiratorially. "It was really boring." Diana laughed. "I bet it was." Daniel hugged her suddenly, fiercely. "Thank you for saving me. Dad told me what you did. You're like a superhero." Diana's throat closed up. She hugged him back, blinking away tears. "You're welcome, Daniel." Dmitri watched them with an expression Diana couldn't quite read. Gratitude, guilt, something softer. "Daniel, go show Nurse your drawings in the car," Dmitri said gently. "I need to speak with Dr. Morgan." The boy ran off, all energy and life. Dmitri turned to Diana. "Your medical board hearing is next week." "I know. I will testify. My lawyers have prepared complete documentation of Blackwell's fraud, the hospital's retaliation against you, everything." "I know. Thank you." "You will get your license back," Dmitri said with absolute certainty. "I will make sure." Diana wanted to believe him, but she'd learned not to count on anything. Dmitri reached into his jacket, pulled out a folder. "There is something else. Something I want to show you." He handed her the documents. Diana read the first page, then the second. Her hands started shaking. "You're funding a foundation for wrongfully blacklisted medical professionals?" "Yes. Doctors who lose licenses for exposing corruption, reporting unsafe practices, standing up for patients against hospitals who care more about money than lives." Dimitri's voice was steady. "Too many good doctors are destroyed like you were, and nobody helps them because they have no power, no money, no voice." Diana kept reading. The Daniel Volkov Justice Foundation. Initial funding, $100 million. Purpose: legal support, financial assistance, license restoration advocacy, reemployment services. And at the bottom, medical director position offered to Dr. Diana Morgan, pending license restoration. "I don't understand," Diana whispered. "You lost everything for telling truth," Dmitri said. "And nobody stood with you. So I am building army to stand with people like you. Legal team, investigative journalists, medical ethics experts. We will fight hospitals that retaliate. We will expose corruption. We will make sure no doctor is destroyed for doing right thing." "Why?" "Because 3 years ago, you tried to protect children with my money, and I was too blind to see it. Now I see." Dimitri's voice grew quiet. "Daniel is alive because you kept your oath even when world said you had no right to. If I can help more doctors like you keep their oaths, maybe I earn a small piece of redemption." Diana looked at him, really looked. The arrogant billionaire who'd called her just a waitress was gone. In his place was a father who'd learned the hardest lesson. Money means nothing if you don't use it to protect the people who actually matter. "I accept the position," Diana said, "but on one condition." "What?" "This doesn't erase what happened to me. Doesn't make the last 3 years disappear. Doesn't fix the damage. I know, but it's a start toward real change, toward making sure what happened to me doesn't happen to others." Dmitri extended his hand. "Then we have agreement." Diana shook it. His grip was firm, sincere. Daniel burst back into the clinic, carrying a crayon drawing. "Dr. Morgan, look, I drew you saving me." The drawing showed a stick figure labeled Dr. Diana, with a cape, standing over a smaller stick figure labeled me. Hearts floated around them. "You gave me a cape," Diana said, smiling through tears. "Because you're a superhero," Daniel said matter-of-factly. "Dad said so." Diana looked at Dmitri. He shrugged, almost embarrassed. I may have said this. Well, Diana crouched to Daniel's level. If I'm a superhero, then your dad is one too. Because he's helping a lot of people now. Just like I helped you. Daniel considered this seriously, then nodded. Okay, but you get the better cape. Deal. As they left the clinic, Daniel, between them chattering about basketball and school and his new puppy, Diana felt something she hadn't felt in 3 years. Hope. Real, solid, unbreakable hope. Sometimes the person who destroys your life becomes the person who helps you rebuild it. And sometimes, saving one child changes everything. Diana's journey from invisible waitress to vindicated doctor took 3 years of loss, 1 moment of courage, and a Russian billionaire who learned that wealth means nothing without humanity. But here's what I didn't tell you. Diana's story isn't unique. Right now, there are 47 other stories I'm investigating. Doctors, nurses, teachers, engineers, all working jobs beneath their expertise because they stood up for truth and paid the price. These are the invisible experts, the people society trained us to overlook. If you made it this far, you're part of the 8% who watch to the end. That matters. It means you see value in stories that challenge how we judge worth. Subscribe if you want to see the other 46 stories. Leave a like if Diana's courage moved you. And comment below, what hidden skill do you have that would shock people who only see your job title? The glass doors of Second Chances Medical Center opened on a bright Charleston morning. Dr. Diana Morgan stood in the lobby wearing her white coat, the one she thought she'd never wear again. Medical director, licensed, legitimate, real. The clinic treated patients who'd been failed by the system, funded entirely by the Daniel Volkov Justice Foundation. No one turned away, ever. Diana was training 6 other doctors, all formerly blacklisted, all vindicated, all getting their second chance. The door opened. Dmitri entered carrying a tray of coffee for the staff. Daniel followed in a junior doctor's costume, white coat, toy stethoscope, name tag that said Dr. Daniel. We bring breakfast. Daniel announced proudly. Diana smiled. The oath she'd taken so many years ago, to do no harm, to heal, to serve, was finally whole again. The clinic's sign gleamed in the morning sun. Second Chances Medical Center, where every life matters. Sometimes the person who saved your life is the one you almost overlooked. And sometimes, one moment of courage changes everything.